it to the cloud. So otherwise, Maggie, our fearless leader, why don't you get us started?
Hello, everybody. This is our October Upper Midwest Bead Society monthly meeting for just our members. My name's Maggie Thompson. I'm the president this year for another 3 months. And I just want to welcome everybody. We're very pleased to have Melissa Shippee tonight, who is an internationally known artist and does phenomenal work. So I want to thank her, in person officially now before I move on to other things. So, and tonight, October is always our board election month. So I wanted to let everybody know that because of our, our problems with being in person, we have to do this through our Zoom meeting tonight. And so what we'll do is if you all just use the chat feature, and I'll read off the names and the positions, and then you can say yay or nay through the chat, and we'll let it go for the whole meeting, and then we'll count the chat votes at the end. I don't know how else to do it, without, being a huge complicated production piece. So see, Nancy Miller is president, wants to be president. Maxine Rosenthal will be vice president. Tori Vizina is running for secretary. Nanita Norden is running for treasurer. Barb Benjamin will remain in membership. Rochelle Peterson will remain in monthly programs, and Roberta Sorensen also will remain in special programs. Jan Carlson will be switching to, she was the treasurer, and she'll be switching to website and blog. And I will be her minion for the next 2 or 3 years in that regard. And Rob Elliott will be our overall web coordinator.
I also believe that Jan will also be doing the newsletter.
That's turning into the blog on the website. There is no more newsletter per se after December. So that's why I say she'll be doing website and the blog. So we'll just leave that open for the chat, and you guys go ahead and register your yays or nays. And I think, isn't that all I was going to say, Rochelle? And then I'm going right to Maxine for a joke.
I think so, yeah.
Okay, Maxine, take it away. We need a funny.
Okay, so many people talk about words, and words have all kinds of different meanings. And so I would like to tell you the difference between sexy, erotic, and kinky. So erotic is using a feather, and kinky is using the whole chicken. So, and I'll also add another quickie. My financial advisor is somebody I've known since college. He was, anyway, when the market had dipped quite a while back, I said to him, will I ever be able to retire? Will I ever be able to do what I want to do? He said, absolutely, you can do everything you wanted to do when you want to do it. You just have to die earlier. So that's my plan. So
that's a good one.
And I would, yeah, that's a serious one. So I would like to turn it over to Hannah and talk about the survey.
I'm not sure how good my my microphone is. Can everybody hear me okay? Because if not, I have a Guitar Hero microphone to plug in.
I love it.
You're good.
Everybody can hear okay? Okay. We took a survey of a number of different things, and I got, when I'm took the results, I had, I think I had 46 people. So not everybody, I think, who has completely let us know what they think about stuff yet, but here's what we've got so far. The first thing I asked was, do people attend the Zoom meetings? And 80% of the answers said yes. And the other thing that I asked was, what would people like to see in the Zoom meetings? And the first thing that came up was national bead instructors, like Melissa. The second was, we got an awful lot of people who were interested in the history of beadwork, especially Indigenous people. And with that in mind, I'm going to be calling somebody who has written a book on that, and we'll see whether or not he says that he'll speak for us. There were questions about whether or not we could actually do small projects within the meetings with finished patterns. And then there was a request for Doris to actually do something about her Czech trip. And I believe she's done that in the past to the for the news for a meeting. So those are what we've got for the Zoom meetings. The next thing I asked was whether or not people attended the demo and do project that we had this summer. I'm sorry, they were called the summer camp demo and do, right?
Mhm.
Right. And 75% of the people told me no. But for future demo and do, people suggested it was pretty evenly split between the bead weaving, bead embroidery, and wire work that they wanted to see in the future. Those were the options that I gave, but the other suggestions were, once again, were Indigenous beadwork, bead photography, website design, and a lot of people, I think the most out of all of them, wanted kumihimo. There was a request for geometric beadwork, seed beads using Czech beads instead of Japanese, and seed beads using stitches besides peyote. And the last was bead crochet. So we're going to take that all into under advice, and we'll hopefully next time we do a demo and do, we will be able to see some of those. 57% of the members who answered my survey take part in the beading basics. And of those, 42% like it on Facebook and 15% like it after the fact on YouTube. So Facebook is back up as about a half an hour ago. So hopefully it'll be up on Saturday too, because Rochelle gave me the lineup on what's going on this weekend on the.
It's actually October 16th, so it's 2 weekends from now.
My bad. Yes, and it's really exciting what's happening, but I better go change that. Oh, I do have it on the 16th. Sorry about that, honey. I asked about which kind of techniques you'd like to learn in beading basics, and it was really evenly split across the things that I had already put up, which were things like bead weaving and bead embroidery and wire work. But a couple of people suggested wire beaded flowers. One person asked for finishing techniques, which I think would be really fun to do. Someone else asked for design creativity and multimedia, how to sort of put all sorts of different techniques together in a finished piece, and how to warp a loom. And the last one was kumihimo, which again was the most popular for the beading basics. Now, if you guys have any other ideas on beading basics that you'd like us to consider, I'm putting my email into the chat right now, and I'd like you to go ahead and email me if you've got any other ideas past the what was put in the survey. And the last thing I asked about was holiday workshops and what kind of things you guys would like to see in holiday workshops. And it was really evenly split among all of the different ideas, but people really wanted a finished project, not a technique for the holiday workshop. And the thing that they really wanted the most, all of them were split except for the ornament making. People really seemed to want geometric beadwork ornament making. So we'll look into that and see. And other things that people suggested were project-specific classes, such as make a bracelet, kumihimo again, raised Iroquois beadwork, bead making. And if the person who asked about bead making is here listening to me, can you please email me and tell me what you mean, whether or not you mean lamp work, or whether or not you mean Fimo or metals or paper beads. Just let me know what you were thinking if you're here and listening to this. Once again, I've put my email into the chat there. It's goodrivergallery@aol.com. And then one person really wanted to talk a class on beading non-jewelry items. So something outside of that. And then finally, quick gifts, which I think is a great idea for a holiday workshop. I also asked about level, and 60% of everybody likes intermediate level classes. We had 12% who wanted beginning and 27% who wanted advanced. And then in terms of length, 80% of the votes went to 1 to 3 hours. So that was the result of the survey. If you haven't filled it, it only takes about 2 minutes to do, maybe less. And it took me longer to talk about it than it takes you to actually take it. The last thing is that for those of you, I got 5 people who were interested in teaching online and 1 person who just wants to teach in real life. And unfortunately, I think right now we're stuck online. But for those of you who gave me your emails and are willing to teach online and in person, thank you very much. And we will contact you soon. So that was our survey. And I think who's going next? Are we going directly to Melissa now, or?
Well, we will in just a moment, because I want to officially thank you, Hannah, for all the work you did on this survey. It's,
oh, it was great. It
all
was fun.
volunteer work, and it's obviously going to be very helpful information. Just listening to the answers that you got and your percentages already tells us a story.
It really does, absolutely.
So
but
I want to thank you.
Absolutely, thank you. I'm going to request one thing, though, is that the survey did not allow me to put comment blocks in. So we know that really people didn't have enough time to sign up for the demo due, and we'll try to do more about that in the future. But if you have any other suggestions on how we can get more people to sign up for workshops in the future, we had 75% of the people who said they didn't take the demo and do. So we want to fix that. So let me know what we can do in the future to really make you want to take classes, and what we can do to fix that. So absolutely, it was so much fun for me. Thank you for letting me do that. I really enjoyed learning.
Yeah, absolutely. And so now I just want to introduce Melissa Grakowsky Shippee. She is a published beadwork designer who teaches workshops internationally, contributes regularly to books and magazines, illustrates diagrams for other instructors. That's for sure. Everybody raves. You want a pattern written? Oh my God, send it to Melissa. She can practically do it overnight. I mean, it's amazing. And so she studied physics and art in college, but turned her attention to beads when motherhood changed her life, and she has the most beautiful kids in the world. If anybody doesn't follow her on Instagram and Facebook to see her family, you really should, you know. Her publications and contributions include 2 full-length instructional beading books called Beautiful Beadwork from Nature and I Can Herringbone, as well as projects in Beadwork Magazine, Bead and Button Magazine, Bead Star, Pearl and Posy, Beading All Stars, and many, many times of the Touhou Challenge and Touhou Designers. So we are so excited to announce Melissa and have her. So I don't know if anybody saw, this is her Touhou Challenge mask. I do have to send it back to her, and I have been negligent in doing that because I've been jealous having it in my office, showing it off to all my customers. And so it's just so beautiful. And every one of these little has a light inside of it as well. and then it like cascades down. It's like the most amazing, you know, beautiful mask. And so that's what she's talking about tonight, is to give you inspiration on how to make your own beautiful, amazing, you know, it's not just for Halloween, it's for every day.
Every day.
Every day. So take it away, Melissa.
Thank you for that lovely introduction, Rochelle. When you listed all the things that I've done, it sounds like a lot of work. So I don't know how that all happened, but here we are. So thank you all for having me. Hope you enjoy this little talk I've put together. Rochelle asked me to talk about my beaded masks. And so when I was thinking about talking about them, I took a look at my gallery of designs, all the designs of masks that I've done over the years. Masks, headdresses, one of them's not a mask. And it got me thinking and realizing that each one of these pieces was made with a certain challenge in mind, or I was challenging myself to do something new. It was an opportunity to explore something that I hadn't done before. So I'm going to be going through this list of designs from the earliest one in 2008 to the most recent one in 2021, and kind of talking about what made each piece unique and what things in particular were the challenge for that piece. So we're going to begin with my very first beaded mask or beaded headdress. This guy is called Ceremonial Headdress. And I designed this specifically to enter the Bead Dreams contest that Bead and Button show used to have. And if any of you are not familiar with that contest, look it up online. The pieces that were submitted to this contest were always outstanding, like amazing. You could tell very time consuming pieces of beaded art, and it was always incredible to go see them at the show. I'll be sad that that won't be happening anymore. But after going for a few years in a row to Bead and Button and seeing those pieces, I really wanted to have a piece in the display cages, you know, with everybody else's pieces who had submitted and become a Bead Dreams finalist. So tried submitting a couple times, smaller pieces like jewelry. And I decided that I needed to submit something that would catch people's eye and stand out from the crowd and not be just a typical piece of jewelry. So I submitted a mask. I've always gone to art museums. I have a background in art, and I always loved seeing like tribal masks and tribal headdresses. It's not something that's such a big part of our culture nowadays in America, but in many other cultures in the world, their headdresses are still a big part of cultural celebrations. And I always just love them because they're just another form of bodily adornment. And they provide a large space to work with. So this was the mask I designed to be like a show-stopping piece, and it did get into Bead Dreams. It was a finalist, and it actually placed third in the accessories, objects and accessories category of Bead Dreams in 2008, the year that I submitted it. And then another fun thing is that Fire Mountain Gems then used it in one of their ads. So that was really fun for me at the time. I was pretty new to beading at that point, and it was cool to just see my piece in a magazine like that. So that piece was a challenge because it was a brand new medium for me doing masks. I had never done a mask before, but I just had wanted to push myself to do something new. So that was what started it all. After that, I just wanted to keep making masks because I just love the process of designing something or exploring something new, trying to create something that people have never seen before. So we'll move on to my next one. My next mask was this guy. And because the name Ceremonial Headdress had already been taken, I called this one Matrimonial Headdress. Oh, I have this one in person too. I was going to show you guys. I only have a few of them actually here with me. Many of them are lent out or in transit or have been commissions, so I don't own them. So that's a photo of the mask that Fire Mountain Gems used that photo in an ad. Again, it was in a magazine, so that was pretty exciting. But I'm going to show you the actual piece in my hands on my bead mat. This mask is held up really well. Sorry, I'm a little distracted because my 5-year-old is crying for me upstairs. So if I lose my train of thought, that is why. All right, so this guy was a challenge because I wanted to create something show-stopping that didn't have a big neck piece on it. I wanted to go a little simpler in terms of that. And I used this technique of off-loom beaded ferns, which is something I had developed for a necklace originally. But so I put these in place, and I had a challenge in this one of hanging these bicones between the ferns, because you guys have done bead weaving. You know how floppy these components can be. So I had to really put some support behind the ferns. There's actually wire hidden in here, like a thick aluminum wire that helps keep the shape of the ferns so they don't bend over with the weight of the crystal bicones. And there's large strands hanging down as well. And some large stones in the middle. And I believe this one was also a challenge because of the time constraints. Oh boy, can you guys hear my daughter? Okay, I'm gonna stop the share. Oh, the other thing that was new for this one was I made a piece on the back with barrettes. There's 2 barrette findings that hold this piece in place. It holds the ribbon that holds the mask onto a form or onto your face in place so it doesn't move. And I decorated the ends of the ribbon with some beads as well. This is still one of my favorite pieces. And ended up winning 2nd place in that Fire Mountain Gems contest I talked about. It was a Swarovski beading contest. All right, I'm going to close my camera software because it takes up a lot of memory while I move on to the next piece. So the next piece I made, I have in person as well, but it's a little destroyed. So I'm going to show you a photo first and then show you the actual piece. So the photo is here. Adelia, I'm in the middle of my talk. I can't talk to you right now. Sorry. I know those of you who had children or have children know how it is. All right, so this is my next piece from 2010. This is, oh boy, what is this guy called? Vernal Equinox headdress. So this was during a phase I had where I was exploring making flowers out of polymer clay. And I had done a couple pieces before this and wanted to try making these flat flowers with the clay. Turns out that they don't really hold up over time. They that mask is really kind of destroyed. I'm going to show you what it looks like now. So many of the flowers have broken off completely, including this one up here. A couple of them are intact, but you know, I'm a little sad about it, but I'm not super sad because this was a chance for me to explore this technique in a new way, add it to a mask, and I'm happy with what I learned doing it. There was another thing that was new with this piece, which was doing these beaded leaves, not with an off loom technique. It's bead embroidery. It's just done on stitching base. The backing's coming away, so you can see that there's stitching base there. So that was a new technique as well. This one was made with a purpose too. This one was made for another Fire Mountain Gems contest, the Swarovski contest, and I believe I won the People's Choice that year. That was 2010. The other polymer clay flowers I had done, I know this isn't a mask, but these are some polymer clay roses that I had attempted to make, and this guy was a Fire Mountain Gems winner for the polymer clay contest, I think the same year that the mask was entered. So these were new, and I had fun doing that because it's a new technique. As I said before, I kind of get bored easily, and I like trying new things and exploring new things. All right, so the next piece on my list is my Untitled Headdress that I made for a company that sells crystals called E.H. Ashley. They're my crystal supplier. And I'm going to share with you a photo because they own this piece. It was a commission from them. So this piece was made to showcase the celadon coating on the crystals. So celadon's kind of a green coating, and they gave me a bunch of stuff to use. So it was kind of a challenge to use the stuff they gave me with minimal seed beads because I really wanted to showcase the crystal. So I made these leaf-like components using navettes sewn in a pattern to kind of make it look like leaves, because obviously I have a thing with leaves and flowers, and wanted that to go into that piece, but it was in a different way. All right. So next piece I had was this mask called Progression. This is one I have with me, but it is so hammered. I'm not even going to show you what it looks like now. It's a mess of wire and chain. So this is what it looked like when I first completed it. And this was a Bead Dreams entry. It didn't make the cut that year. It was 2013, but it gave me an opportunity to play with wire wrapping. And I did enjoy it, but I will say it also taught me that I am not great at wire wrapping, and it's just really not my thing. I don't like the feel of it as much as I like, sewing with beads. So I didn't end up going too much further with wire wrapping than that. But this piece, I was inspired by the computer components you can see in the center of the forehead and up above the forehead. Those were taken out of motors and other parts from computers. And I always loved the way that copper wire was just coiled around. So I did my own copper wire coiling in the pieces that come up off the head in this piece, and hung some copper chain from there. So sort of trying to mimic the look of my other masks where I have extra stuff coming off to make it more dramatic, but using just wire and chain and metal in those places. All right, so my next one is, this next one I'm going to show you was a commission from Miyuki. One year at the Bead and Button show, I was there at Meet the Teachers night, and oops, sorry, it paused my share because I moved from one screen to the other. There we go. So this guy came about because the owner of Miyuki came up to me and asked if I would make them a headdress that was similar to Matrimonial Headdress, the second one I showed you that I had in person. So I did some beaded ferns, like off-loom beaded ferns again, and I hung crystals from it, and did a different design with a different color palette. And they actually did supply a lot of the seed beads for me from this project in addition to their payment. So that was a fun experience, actually being commissioned by a company whose product I used a lot, not just my crystal company, another company. And this piece was a challenge because I did the ferns using a lot of delicas rather than seed beads. So they came out a bit smaller, and I wanted to make the ferns look a little different than the ones I had used on my very first mask. So I used different colors and a different sort of patterning of the colors. And I think they liked it. I haven't seen it too much in advertisements or anything, but they paid me and we've moved on. All right, and the next piece I want to show you, I have in person. I'm not sure how well it'll show up on the webcam, but this is a headdress. This is called Taking Flight, and maybe I'll put it on my document camera. Oops. It's a little hard to see in the webcam, I think. All right, so let me get my document camera software going. It's going. And I'll share my screen. All right, so this guy, I wanted to do a headdress that wasn't specifically a mask. So I actually started this one, and it took me a couple years to finish because I just wasn't sure exactly what to do. This piece was inspired by Native American headdress, and I'm not sure now if that's what's the term? Like, I'm not sure if that's a good thing or not. Cultural appropriation, the term I'm looking for. So I'm not sure if it was okay for me to do or not. I didn't talk to anyone about it before I did it, but I was inspired nevertheless by the headdresses I've seen worn on Native American peoples during some of their cultural celebrations. And I used a lot of Swarovski in this one as well, some large crystals, and it was a challenge to get it to sit right on the head. So I ended up putting some an ultra suede strap on the back that goes over the top of the head, and then a second strap that goes across the back of the head and then attaches to snaps on either side. And maybe if I stop my share and try to put it on my head, you guys will be able to see what I'm talking about. So the challenge with this one, the big one, was getting it to stay on the head. I don't think it's gonna show up, is it? Let me stop my my background. Okay. So the strap I put back here is adjustable a little bit, and it kind of like holds the weight of it on the head. This was like an engineering problem that I had. So it holds the weight on the head, and the other strap connects on the back of the head. And those two straps, like the shape of a T, hold it in place. And now the only reason I think I was able to kind of troubleshoot that problem is because I have a couple of these mannequin busts I've gotten off eBay, and I've spray painted them, and I was able to kind of fit this on the bust while I was working with the ultra suede to figure out how I could get it to stay on the head. I've done the same with sewing. If anyone here is a sewer, you know what I'm talking about, making dresses or shirts on a form. So that's kind of the way I was working with the mask, or the headdress, sorry. All right, so let's see, next on the list is, this mask is called Sweet Summer Child. And though I do still own this piece, it's currently at the Museum of Beadwork because the owner wanted to photograph it. So it's been there for a little while because I taught there right before the pandemic and left it with them. And, you know, then everything happened and stuff gets delayed. So this piece was actually done purposefully for a contest, like some of my other pieces. This one was unique because we were all given the same packet of beads. Well, there were different seasons of color, and you could choose your season, and then you were given the same packet of beads as everyone else who chose that season. So I chose, I think this is actually the spring colorway, but summer ended up in the name of it for whatever reason. And the biggest challenge was you couldn't add too much to the beads you received. You had to use mostly the seed beads you received, and then you could add a couple like stones, crystals, pearls, that sort of thing. So this one was, I just made a bunch of random beaded flowers. I was trying to figure out how I could make new beaded flower shapes I hadn't made before using the beads that were included in the kit. And then I just like made one after the other before I had even started putting things on the mask. And then I ended up just picking and choosing the ones I liked best to go on the mask. I think I used most of the flowers I made. But to me, what that does is if you look closely, a lot of these flowers are different. Like there are a couple that have similarities, but each one is a little bit different from the other because I was just playing with the beads and changing something each time I made one so that they would all come out a little bit different. This one, I also developed this new technique of making prismatic right angle weave vines, the things you see going up to the top left part of the mask. So I did a strip of 3-Pra and then just experimented with adding different sizes of beads in there and then making sort of a lace on the end with size 15 seed beads, making loops to make that sort of lacy effect. And I ended up winning that contest. That was the Win Beads Bead Inspired contest in 2016. First place. That I finished before the deadline, which was midnight in California, 3 a.m. here. And I had to photograph this piece while Adelia was a baby sleeping in my bedroom, which was also my photography studio at the time. So I very carefully went in and covered her crib that she was sleeping in with blankets so that the bright lights of the photography booth wouldn't wake her up. She's a deep sleeper anyway, so I knew it was going to work. So I did that, turned the lights on, took the photos, turned the lights off, took the blankets off. She didn't even make a peep. She just kept on sleeping, and I got the submission in on time. Between 2017 and 2018, I didn't do any masks. We moved into our house that we built ourselves in 2016. So I think I just had PTSD at that point from all that work and having the new baby and everything. And then in 2018, I got pregnant with my second daughter. and was writing a book at the same time. So I think that's probably why I didn't have time to do a mask that year. But then in 2019 is when I told Rochelle, hey, Rochelle, I think I'm ready to do another Touhou challenge. She knew how busy I was before that, but I came up to her at the Beaded Masks show and said, I want to do it again. So they included me in the challenge that year and sent me this same packet of beads as everybody else. And this one was another huge challenge because of being given a packet of beads. I didn't get to choose my own colors. And I don't think I've ever worked with an orange bead before this, or coral, red colors. I've never worked with those colors before. And it was really a challenge for me to figure out what to do with them. But of course, because of the purples and the yellows and the coral colors and then the greens, I thought flowers and like leaves and stuff. So I at least had some idea of what I wanted to do. But another part of the challenge was we weren't allowed to use like really anything except for one focal. Like we couldn't add anything to the bead kit except for one focal. And I contacted Rochelle and was like, can I use Swarovski? Like I'm used to using Swarovski. She's like, you might not want to, because then we can't use it in ads and all this stuff. So I picked out one lampwork check cabochon to use in the largest flower. And that was the only thing I added to this kit besides the lights and the beading surface underneath. So that was a big challenge as well, not having like my crystal stones that I like to use as focal points and trying to figure out something interesting. But this mask also provided me the opportunity to explore using LED lights, which I had wanted to use for years, but hadn't really had an opportunity to, or an occasion where I felt like I had enough time. This one, I felt like I had enough time to start playing with those. So I got some from a model train shop online, and that was a challenge in itself, just trying to use those things. It took me many hours to figure out, number one, how to wire them together, because it wasn't how I thought it was. And number two, how to hide all the wiring and get the lights under the flowers. So if you're interested, I do have a whole blog post about that on my website. If you go to my website, which I'll put in the chat, and go under my writings, there's a post there about that. I also did want to share a little video of you guys with the mask in the dark with the lights, so you can see what they look like. It's on a turntable so that you can see the lights from the different angles. So these lights are actually flickering. There's all kinds of different lights that this model train shop uses in all different colors. These were the warm white and they were flickering. And I just thought that, it made a really cool effect with the flowers. Like it was like this piece was alive in an extra way. So that was a huge challenge. A lot of hours went into that. So yeah, so the year after that, 2020, pandemic times, COVID hit, and my kids all of a sudden were home with me, and times were tough. Money was a little tighter because I had to try to work with the kids at home, which I really had never done before. Jack had always gone to school, well, as soon as he was 3, and my other kids were like, yes. Oh, I have this in person. I don't have a photo of this up because I'm showing it on my document camera. Let's see. So I got to share my screen with you for that. So this guy was made during the pandemic when times were tough. Swarovski decided that they were going to have a DIY jewelry craft contest. I think it was the first time they'd ever done this. Like Swarovski itself put on this contest. And my distributor, E.H. Ashley, they told me about it. They told me about it about 10 days before the deadline of the contest, which is when they had heard about it. And I said to my salesperson, you know what, I'm going to do this. And I ordered a bunch of stuff. And the reason I was so motivated is because the prize was $1,000 gift card, like for the grand prize. And I was like, darn it, I'm going to win it. You need extra income right now. And against all odds with the kids home, I'm going to do it. So I spent 6 days making this. And the reason it was so fast is because I used a lot of large beads and pearls and glued them down and didn't bezel them. I did do a few bezels, but that, those weren't too bad. The largest one is only 18 millimeters, but the rest of these large pieces are either stitched down with a hole in them, like these pearls, or glued down. and then bead it around. And there's a lot of large beads in this piece. So I think it's deceiving because, just the larger the components you're using, the quicker the piece is going to go. And then there's fill in with the seed beads, of course, because I want that fine detail work. But the big challenge to this was making it in the 6 days. And I do think I lost a lot of sleep to do it, but it was worth it because I ended up winning that grand prize and $1,000. And I bought groceries with it for not even 2 months, but it helped a lot. So the biggest challenge of this guy was the time and using a lot of Swarovski. I had to be a certain percentage Swarovski, so I could only use a certain percentage of seed beads. And I didn't even finish the backing for this piece. This is actually painted with fabric glue, because fabric paint is like a pigmented glue, basically. It dries very hard, and it covered up all the threads, and none of them are going to come loose now. And I just haven't bothered putting another backing on it because I really don't think it's necessary. I could wear it if I wanted to, and it goes on the form and nobody knows the wiser. So that was a time challenge, that guy. Oh, and that guy was called Dream of Flight. I used Flight in one before, but that was Dream of Flight. All right, so I've got 2 more. So starting the same year, the pandemic year, but going through to 2021, I made this piece, which was another commission for E.H. Ashley, my crystal supplier. So I'm not sure if they knew something before they told us, but they gave me this piece to try to showcase Preciosa crystal. And so this was before I knew that Swarovski was going away. And it offered me the opportunity to not use any Swarovski and just use Preciosa crystal instead. So this was inspired by the things I'm often inspired by, nature and the leaves, shapes of leaves and flowers and things like that. So I asked for these crystals in these specific colors. Having come fresh off of the Touhou challenge piece, I see now that these are kind of similar colors. There's some corals and purples and greens. The one thing that was really new for me in this piece was using a fabric and leaving a lot of it exposed. I wanted to experiment with doing that. So I bought this, a few colors of this beautiful silk burnout velvet. So that's what you see as the green on the bottom part of the mask there, where it's completely exposed. And then there is some of that showing on the top part of the mask, which is admittedly easier to see in person probably than in this photo. But in the beaded leaf shapes, there is some of that velvet exposed because it was just so beautiful. I just wanted to showcase it somehow. And I think it complements the crystal really well. And this guy was called Daydream in a Fairy Glen because I'm like full over here with mermaids and unicorns and fairies. It's like my life now with 2 little girls. So I'm just going with it. All right, and my last piece, which was just finished a few months ago, is called Adaptation. And I'll share my screen with you, show you that guy. This guy was made for the Museum of Beadwork Wings and Stings Challenge, which started in 2020, early 2020, when I taught at Caravan Beads. I heard about it, and they decided to extend the challenge to 2021 to give everybody a little more time. It was going to have a sooner deadline, but that was generous of them to do that. So the challenge for this piece, one of the challenges was it had to be a certain percentage of seed beads. So I couldn't use a ton of crystal. But other than that, I could pretty much do whatever I wanted. So I decided to use some of my LED lights again. I'll show you a video shortly. And the point of the challenge for them was to incorporate beaded bugs. So immediately I thought of butterflies because they have a lot of color to them. And I had never really made like a beaded butterfly that looked like lifelike. And I wanted to challenge myself to do that. So I used Dr. Google. I went on Google and looked up images of butterflies and just spent time looking at them and kind of trying to figure out what made butterflies look like butterflies, like the patterning on the wings and the shapes of the wings. I made some drawings that sort of simplified the patterning on the wings. And then I just went to town gluing some crystals down. Those are flat crystals in the wings, and then making rows of beads where the color kind of graduates from one to the other. This one sort of combines some of my other experimental techniques from some of my masks, like leaving some fabric exposed. There is silk dupioni fabric in a few different colors that you can see on there. And then the leaves and flowers up to the right, coming up the right part of the head, those are actually a embroidered lace fabric that I cut out the embroidered part and then just started beading on top of it. So some of it's left more exposed on some leaves than others, or on some flowers than others. And I tried to sort of mesh the two looks together, the embroidery with the thread and the bead embroidery. And this one uses the LEDs as well. Like I said, let me find my videos. I'm going to show you. Here it is. So this one I used different colors of LEDs. I used not flickering pink LEDs under the butterflies' heads, and I used a cool white flickering LED under the flowers and the places where there are butterfly eggs. Okay. And that piece was inspired by butterflies themselves. I studied a lot of biology in college, and I just think that nature is like the most fascinating, interesting thing. There's no limit to what there is to learn about the world around us and the creatures around us. And butterflies are especially interesting to me because I'll never forget having a graduate evolutionary biology class where we learned about this species of butterfly that, depending on the environment they grew up in, they could really look different, you know, from one place to the next. And they had a lot of variation built into their genetics. And it was sort of, it was an example for us of epigenetics, of how genetics aren't just set by the code of the genes, but by these other factors that can change throughout development from an egg to a butterfly. And so it was, oh yeah, and I did incorporate a face mask in that one. I thought it was subtle. Not everyone might, you know, see that, but I wanted to, the piece is called Adaptation. It's about adapting to your environment. And my whole thing is like, be the butterfly. You know, they have such variation. They can adapt really well to their environments, and we can do the same. So, so yeah, so that was my last piece. I probably won't have time to make another one anytime soon, but I've really enjoyed making masks because it's been a free way for me to challenge myself and try new things and try to make a successful piece that I don't have the pressure of teaching. I don't have, you know, to write a pattern for it. I don't have to be able to recreate what I did a second time necessarily. It's just to be able to try, you know, what happens if I put a bead here and put some beads here, you know, combine this technique with this technique. So yeah, so I encourage anyone who wants to give it a shot to doing something different like this to just try. I mean, what's the worst that can happen? You can always cut it up and use the beads, you know, if you don't like what you end up with. But at this point, if anybody has any questions for me, I'd love to answer some. I see a couple in the chats.
What do you use for a base?
So that has varied throughout the years. I started by trying to combine, I think I was like putting fabric glue on felt to try to stiffen it up. And it ended up making, like doing layers of fabric glue and trying to form it kind of like paper mache style to my beaded or mannequin busts that I had. And so it ended up kind of like really hard to stitch through with all the fabric glue in there. And so I think I started trying to come away from that by like 2012, 2013. I started trying to use Peltex, I think, at that point, like the lacy stiff stuff kind of material. It's already like stiffened, sort of polyester felt. And I'm not sure exactly all the phases I went through, but what I do now is I basically sew darts into a flat piece of non-woven stitching base. Actually, I have a couple examples behind me because I've got some mask classes coming up and I've got to make them. Start with just flat non-woven stitching base. This one was hand dyed, so the color's a little funny. but I end up making cuts in strategic spots and then sewing those cuts together. And then in the nose piece, I have to add, because when you're trying to force something to go out, you need to add fabric to take up that 3-dimensional space. So it's kind of like dressmaking, or, you know, forming clothing to a form. I just use the mannequin busts and try to figure out where I have to cut and how much I have to sew in to shape the non-woven stitching base. And that's a lot easier to sew through. Other questions? I see, what type of glue did I use? Veda, was that, which part was that in reference to?
Well, you were like gluing down pearls or stones.
Oh,
and not
that
those-
one? Yeah, that one I used like a Loctite gel super glue, because I had to glue them down and just keep beating, you know, quick. Like I had to set right away. And it's
Yeah,
held
right.
really well.
We had tried using like a bonded glue. You put two together and make it.
Oh.
The judges of a contest we had said you can't do that.
Oh, how come?
I have no idea.
Oh, okay.
But the two of us, we had won a lot in our, this is from the Florida Society I was in.
Oh, great.
And so the two of us kind of was like, well, I think they just wanted somebody else to have a chance to win. So after that, we quit entering into the competitions.
Yeah. Well, that's too bad. Someone asked in the chat if that I had a grab bag for sale at one point. I don't have any made up at the moment. Part of what I've been doing since I created a new studio space that's finished in my basement, and I had to move all my stuff, is I've been finding just all this stuff from old kits that's just in a big box, and I've been kind of putting those together in categories to put into these grab bags. So I have a bunch that are in the little bags. I just need to actually take them and make up the goodie bags, and then I will have them again for sale. Bead Lady, you have a mask there. That is so cool. And it's on a wand. That's beautiful. You're muted. I think everybody got muted when I was talking. So if you want to say something, you might have to unmute yourself.
How many hours does it take you to once you start to finish?
So that I don't have like a definite answer for that, because every mask has been different, and I never like really time myself. And because I'm working full time amongst doing these things, and I can't really take too much time during the work day to do that, I'm using little blocks of time that I have either before or after, or in the middle if I'm taking a little break. So it's hard to quantify exactly how much time. I could tell you for sure the mask that took the most time out of any mask I've ever done was the one that I did for the Touhou challenge that Rochelle has. Because of the LED lights, having to figure that out, it took many, many hours to figure those out and stitch those down. And then all the beadwork that comes around the neck and down here and all those beaded flowers. I made some dumb decision at some point to make all the beaded flowers have 9 petals each. I didn't need to do that, but that made it very, very time consuming to make all those. So I'd say on that guy and probably the first headdress, those are probably my 2 that took the longest amount of time. And I could say easily upwards of 100 hours for the Touhou challenge mask, as well as the first one, although I do think the Touhou challenge one took a little bit more. Now the shortest one, the quickest one was that Swarovski DIY challenge mask with the big beads that I glued down. That guy took 6 days, and it wasn't like 12-hour days. It was probably average 8 hours a day. So, you know, maybe 48, 50 hours. And then I'd say all the other ones were somewhere in between.
Okay, I did this for the Touhou challenge a couple of years ago, and it's
nice.
to be a carnival mask.
That's
and
awesome.
It was a wooden form.
Wooden? How did you do that?
I got it at a garage sale. And then I to put it around, the stitching on the edge holds the one piece to the other piece.
So did you use something different to stitch the beads onto? How did you get the beads down?
I stitched the beads onto a backing.
Oh, okay. and then you put that on the wood form.
Right.
Okay, cool. Oh yeah. I like that. That's beautiful.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And yours are fabulous.
Thank you. Does anyone have any other questions about them or anything? I was supposed to mention I am teaching beaded mask classes, right, Rochelle? I forgot to.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I know you've got all kinds of wonderful classes coming up. So where can people else find you?
I do. So I desperately need to update my calendar on my website. So normally the place to go to find out about classes I'm teaching is to go to www.mgsdesigns.net. And if you go to the workshops page, I just put that in the chat. I have like my schedule there. And when I can, I'm trying to put the photos of the projects there and then who to contact to sign up. Because the thing is, I don't run my own classes. I'm trying to continue to work with bead stores and bead societies that I've worked with in pre-pandemic times. And, you know, the retreats I've taught for, even if I'm not teaching in person, they are the ones that are hosting me and hosting the Zoom classes. So all the sign up goes through them. So my website should be the best place to find out like the classes I'm teaching. I have many in the next couple months that are sold out. Beads by Blanche, I'm teaching a mask class in a week and a half. I'm teaching for the Rocky Mountain Bead Society in November and South Jersey Bead Society in November. All those are sold out, I believe. I am teaching for City Beads via Zoom in December, the 4th and the 5th. So I'm not sure if Lisa Garoon has opened up the registration for that yet. I'll have to ask her. And I'm teaching two bead weaving, or no, I'm teaching a bead embroidery class and a bead weaving class. Teaching a mask class in January. I believe that one is sold out through Bead Soup. And I have a few dates here and there with different people after that we're not completely sure what I'm teaching yet. So generally how this works is I book a date with somebody and then they pick from my my lexicon of projects that I'm able to teach. So usually I have the date first and then the project second. So when you look at my workshop page on my website, I'll just put the dates in and where I'm teaching. And sometimes I'll say projects TBD because I don't necessarily know what I'm teaching yet. And as I said, I really need to update that. I'm sorry. I'll try to update that this week if anybody's curious. I have dates booked through 2023. So, you know, we kind of fill in as the year goes on. And some people like to book way ahead of time. Some people, we don't talk about it till a few months before. So it's kind of all chaotic and random. But I'm trying to be organized about at least getting you guys the information.
And so, I mean, these masks are such a big project. Are you thinking then of moving back to more jewelry in the future? I mean, it takes less the time, or are you, I mean, you're so multi-talented. I love the one you did with the teacups. I mean, that was one of my favorites.
Oh yeah, I have that one right here actually, because I'm gonna donate it to the Museum of Beadwork for their auction. I like this one too. But it's just sitting in a box collecting dust, and I figure they can use it and, you know, get some money for their museum. So I have a little repair to do, and then I'm sending that one off. But no, I mean, to answer your question, I do plan to continue to teach jewelry classes. The mask classes were just like by demand because so many people had wanted to do it, and Zoom turns out to be a great way to be able to teach it and fill a class. The problem I was having before is that I'd have a few people express interest, but not enough people to get together to host or to have like a 2-day in-person workshop. So, but it turns out, you know, via Zoom, the 2 days isn't as bad. And the way that I'm teaching these classes is that you design your own. I teach you all these different techniques that I've used in all my different masks, and I help you with the design process, you know, with using the design principles that I was taught in school and that I use in my pieces. And I sort of guide you to designing your own piece. So I hope some of you will join me. I'm sure some of you will.
Yeah,
and
sounds like so much fun. Oh my god,
it has been so much fun to see the different ideas people come up with, because they're so vastly different from one another, and lots of stuff I wouldn't even thought of doing. It's really cool. It's really an inspirational class.
Melissa, somebody on chat wants to know how you store your masks, and she actually said those fabulous masks.
Oh, thanks. So some of them just as of recently, some of them are on my headdresses, like the one you see that Rochelle has. That one, when it comes home, is not coming off that headdress. It's gonna, or on that bust. It's gonna stay there and go somewhere in my finished workspace. This is the first time I've ever had a finished designated workspace for my business since I've started this. So before that, and what most of my masks still do, is sit in a box in bubble wrap. And so that's how they get stored. I wrap the bubble wrap around them and just put them in the box with the other jewelry that I've made over the years. So sorry to say that that's the way it is, but I do plan on expanding my workspace a little bit. I have to finish the rest of my basement, and then the idea is to have them all out somewhere in I have a little china cabinet. I'm gonna put some of them in, so they're all out. I mean, I don't own that many of them, honestly, though. I own probably 5 or 6 of the ones that are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, I own 7 of them, but they're not all here right now.
I will send you this one back very soon. So what about, you said you're involved in all these wonderful fairylands. I saw you brought your kids to the Renaissance Fair. So would you consider making wings next, or?
Possibly. I don't know. Like, I feel like I'm stuck in a good rut, you know, if I could say that. Like, I just like making the masks because I feel like there's still more to experiment with, and it's a form that's large, but it's not like so big that I wouldn't be able to finish it. Like with wings, I love that idea, but I know I wouldn't have the time to finish like a fairy wing, like a large one, you know.
Well, your daughter size, you know,
Yeah.
they're kind of little.
Yeah, well, I hadn't thought of that actually, because I'm just like stuck on the masks, but that's a great idea. Oh, thanks for posting. Hannah just posted some info in the chat. My City Beads classes. She knows more than I do about where to go to sign up for my classes. But if you go to the City Beads website, it's on there. And then Northern Virginia Bead Society class. Oh, there's the one in February is available. One of them is available. Does that mean one seat or one date? Okay.
I'm not.
Check it out. I'll
February 20th is sold out. I don't know how many seats. Oh, I said FOB 20. Anyway, February 20th is sold out. The other one I think is the 21st, and it doesn't say how many seats are still available, but there's at least one.
That's strange because it's a 2-day workshop, so I'm not sure what's going on there.
Oh, well, it could be that it's sold out then.
Okay.
But it says that February 20th is sold out. So you may want to contact them. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll be continuing to teach this 2-day sort of mask master class as long as people want me to. You know, I can't teach too many times in any given period of time because I have to have a few weeks in between to prep the supplies, and I make these mask bases myself by hand. So, you know, those take time to make, and then I've got kits to make for other classes and stuff. So I promise you I will keep booking the mask classes if I don't have any that are open right now. It just all takes time.
I've taken your class. That was fun through Upper Midwest Bead Society, and it's great. Anybody has the opportunity to do that. It's fantastic. Materials and the information. I mean, you just learn so much.
Thanks
through her class. So I really enjoyed it.
Oh, that's great. Thank you. That's kind of you to say.
Plus your courier necklace too. I haven't finished that, but that was my move. But anyway, it's fantastic.
Thank you.
And so when you start to make the mask, do you gather all the beads first, or you make your sketch first, or what's the first process?
So often I do have a sketch that I start with, and that kind of dictates like the overall shape usually. Like I usually have some idea of which way I want things to be coming off of the mask, and like maybe what the large features are, like if I'm gonna have large stones or like large ferns or leaves or flowers. I sort of usually have some idea of like the large components I want to do. Sometimes the materials are dictated by if it's a challenge, like the Touhou challenge, you know, or a commission where I'm supposed to be, you know, showcasing a certain material. Sometimes the materials are just like whatever beads that I feel like would work for the large components or my ideas. And sometimes they're just beads that I love, like colors that I love. The Swarovski DIY craft contest, I didn't have to use any particular color or component. I just had to use Swarovski. And I just have always loved like bronzes and blues together. And I loved some of their new colors and coatings. So I just ordered a bunch of stuff in the colors that I liked and planned to use bronze beads with them. That's basically the colors came from that idea. And that guy was inspired by our butterfly. So I am inspired by these shapes in nature and try to, usually have something going on that's clearly like nature inspired. And the sketch helps me like remember as I'm working what my initial idea was.
And so how often you're in the middle and then all of a sudden it gets changed, like completely evolves into something new? How often does that happen?
So completely change doesn't happen so often. There are times where, like with that same mask I was just talking about with the large for the Swarovski DIY craft contest, I'll do a large section and like realize I don't like it and cut it all off and try again. But I'm always sort of aiming for my original sort of vision or idea for what I wanted the piece to be. So I don't think I've ever had anything like go completely different. I try to stick to my original idea and make it work, even if at the end I say to myself, oh, I could have changed that or done something differently. I tried my best to make a satisfying piece, using the techniques at hand and the supplies I had chosen. And I try not to veer too much off tracks.
For all those ADD beaters like me, all of a sudden freeform it, so.
Yeah. Well, for me, even when I freeform it, it's important as I'm going to check and make sure I like what's happening. And that requires like my mind quieting down. So I have a really hard time designing with when there's noise around me or when there's other people around me. And I try to find quiet times to do it, preferably where I'm by myself. Sometimes that's not an option, but one thing that does help me is listening to music and earbuds. Even if there's noise around, it kind of like centers me and focuses me and it quiets my mind down, because I find that I have a hard time listening to the feedback of my artistic eye, trying to criticize my own piece if I'm thinking about something else or, there's busy thoughts happening, and the music just kind of makes it so that I can listen to the little voice that might say, oh, that doesn't really look right there. And then just rip it off and try something different. Or, it's easier to listen to my own feedback when it's quiet.
Sounds like good advice.
Yeah, easier said than done.
Yeah, especially with all those kids. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's more challenging than ever to try to get these things done, but I like a challenge. That's what's driven a lot of these masks is one challenge or another. And I feel that challenge really does drive design, not just in the beading world, but in general in humanity. So I think challenge is just an opportunity.
Yeah, well, it looks like the mixed media seems to be the biggest challenge, putting it all together in the mask, especially the wire really interests me when you made the wire wrapped one. Did you do the wire part first and encase it in the middle of it, or how do you attach wire with it, or sewing it down in a lot of places, or? Yeah,
so the wire, so if you, let me go back to that picture because it's easier to talk about looking at it. Actually, I'll just go back to my gallery of designs here and zoom in on that guy. So with that one, what did I do? Sorry, I feel like, there we go. Okay. So with that wire one, I started with the large pieces of copper wire. I think I just went to a craft store to get this copper wire, and those large ones, it's got to be like 12 gauge or something like that. It's a really thick wire. It's like at least 2 millimeters thick, and it's really stiff. It's it's flexible, but it holds its shape once you get it in place. So what I did is I took those large pieces and I kind of shaped them the way I wanted them to go. The ones that are kind of going up from the center of the face and out. I stitched them down first.
Okay.
And then I think the next step was stitching and sewing the computer components down. And those wires, they're actually stitched down, not just with thread, but with like loops of beads to hold them in place. And I made sure the shape of those was right before I started wrapping them with wire. And as I was wrapping with a thinner copper wire around them, I think that's when I was incorporating the chain. Like I'd go through a loop of the chain. It was a pain in the butt.
It really, I mean, I do wire rat working and it just seems like a major, mess. Like I would turn it into a mess, it's just.
It was a mess. It was a mess. Thank you. And that centerpiece with the wire, I think, was separate. And then I stitched that on after. That wasn't part of hanging the chain and doing all the little wire wrapping around those large wires.
Where do you find your displays for the
eBay. I just look up mannequin busts, and then I get a good like plastic compatible spray paint, like a gray plastic compatible spray paint, and spray paint them. I used to do them black, but I think gray is more of a neutral background for all the different colors, light and dark. So I've been making them gray.
It's because it's so sturdy.
Yeah, it was like flesh color with like a face and everything. I have one I haven't painted yet.
Oh, okay.
That was just like, they come they come looking like, the people, like they're painted, they're weird. But I thought that I would give it like a good like spray painting it just one color would be like a good neutral thing for photography. Like one of the biggest challenges of photographing these pieces is getting a good angle on it. And I thought that having it on the form that it was intended to be used on would be a good way to photograph the pieces for submitting to contests and whatnot. So that's why those mannequin busts came about pretty early on in this process.
Yeah.
We have a question from, I'm saying her name, is it Veda or Vada? About whether or not you're planning on teaching your twining vine necklace or twining vice.
Twining vine, yes. Yes, I am. I believe my class through social media in January is sold out now, but I will continue to teach it wherever people want me to. As I said before, the process goes that people invite me to teach, and then we pick a date, and then they pick the design that they want me to teach. So I'm kind of waiting to hear from a couple places on what their projects are, but that could be one of them. And I am doing a lot of Zoom, so I will definitely be teaching it again via Zoom. That's not a question. That's a brand new design. Teaching it for the first time. I just did this past weekend and then next weekend. So it's brand new, and I will definitely be teaching it for a while until people lose interest or everybody has taken it.
Yeah, I was busy those days, so I couldn't sign it.
Yeah. No worries. I will have it available.
Between part-time work, pet sitting, and running my sister's errands, I keep very busy.
That's a lot, yeah.
Someone asked if you wear them or are they just for display?
Oh, I have not had an occasion to actually wear one other than just for photography, for playing around. I would like to, but I'm not sure where and when that will be. So we'll see.
Oh, I mean, I just think that your family would dress all up and go to the Renaissance Fair and wear them. I mean, it would be perfect.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe. You have to figure out who's wearing which one and is it comfortable. And some of these are kind of heavy, with the seed beads and stuff. So I have to make sure I choose the lighter ones for the little girls.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
a Mardi Gras party, a red carpet affair.
Yeah.
Yeah. When are you going to the Met Gala? I mean, that's what
I haven't been invited yet, Rochelle, believe it or not. So
we'll try to work on that
take
one.
my invite.
We'll keep posting your stuff all over and then make sure that you get an invite because we want to make sure you're wearing.
Marcia says Halloween is coming. That's true. That's true. You know what? Sometimes it is too, though, Marcia, is like this is part of my job. Like I enjoy it and I love doing it, but because it's beads, it's, you know, my job too. And so if I'm wearing beaded jewelry, I don't wear a lot of beaded jewelry in public either. And I'm not sure I can imagine wearing a mask in public, like unless other people are doing it too, because I don't want to have to talk about my job when I'm out with my kids, you know, necessarily. Like I do get people who are interested and ask, but like a lot of times I'm trying to shut that part of my brain off. Like in my work life, I work in my home. So one of the ways that I, you know, just get away is just by not thinking about this part of my day when I'm with my kids and, you know, trying not to think about them when I'm working. I have to try to like separate it. So I'm not sure I could do it for Halloween like this year where I live. If we all got together and had a Halloween party and, you know, different people wearing masks, that's a totally different story. That would be cool.
So, well, you never know. Maybe we'll have a new event in our future, you know.
It would be so cool.
Oh, and so for the next anniversary party or something.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
And so I love it.
Does anyone have any other questions?
Oh my God, you've just awed us. You know, we're just so inspired. I think everybody's minds are going and
I have a question.
I just went to your website, Melissa, so I just got sucked in to all of your kits.
Oh, been trying to get them on there, especially the ones with Swarovski, because you know, as of a few days ago, I can't buy it anymore. So I've been trying to stock up and then just make the rest of the kits that I have that are, you know, designed with Swarovski and get them off my shelves to make room for kits that don't use Swarovski. So I'll be having a lot more coming up. What's that?
Are you switching to Preciosa?
I'm trying different things. I had been using quite a bit of Preciosa in my new designs for this year, but I've been pretty, they've been taking a lot longer than I ever anticipated to fulfill my orders. I'm still waiting on some pearls that I used in a design that I taught in July, like for people that need them for their kits. And I am not comfortable with that kind of timeline. So if that doesn't change, I'm going to be, you know, using other things more heavily. There is one brand of Chinese crystal I'm going to start exploring, and it's because it's a very controlled situation where it's two sisters. One is here and one is in China. And the one here owned a bead store. The one in China runs the factory. So it's very consistent product. And, you know, I'm going to play with it and see what happens with that. I'm also trying to use other Czech glass, you know, not just Preciosa, but there's other brands, like unnamed brands that make beads and beautiful Czech buttons and, you know, materials that I love working with too. So I'm just going to be trying to come up with designs using any of those sorts of, you know, things, and we'll see.
What's the name of the Chinese company?
I asked the owner what she was going to call it, and this is someone who owned a bead store in Georgia called Beautiful, so she's just going to call it Beautiful Crystal. So as far as I know, that's what the name she's using for it.
Okay. Yeah, because I've used a lot, I mean, obviously exclusively Swarovski in all of my designs, and yeah, that's like not available anymore.
I know.
And I mean, I still got a lot left, and so I can refill kits and stuff, but at a certain point, you know, you can't. So
right. And I tried not to get too upset when it occurred to me today how many of my designs in the past several years I've like based on using certain Swarovski components, and now not only can I not sell the kits if I don't have any more of the material, but I can't sell the patterns because people aren't going to be able to get the supplies to make the kits. So that just like it decimates like years of my work time that I've had, you know, coming up with these patterns and writing them and putting them out there. So it's pretty upsetting, and I'm trying to not think about that too much and just try to look forward and remember that honestly most of this stuff is based on seed beads. You know, we're here because of the seed beads. That's like the primary material we're using. So, you know, we still have our beautiful Touhou beads and our Miyuki beads, and trying to just like kind of go back to the basics and remember it's all about the seed beads.
Like I had said earlier, during the pandemic, I switched from beading to quilting. One part was because my sister says, well, we need room in that room. Can I pack up some of your beads? What ended up, they were all packed up, and they're back behind me, behind this king size mattress.
Oh.
And I have a ton of Swarovski back there.
Oh, do you?
I might have some to sell to people in the future.
Oh, nice.
Never get in there. But I guess your patterns just need to try and find somebody else that makes that size, so you wouldn't have to change your patterns to
Yeah,
mention.
it's not possible because that Swarovski made so many different unique components that I stupidly used, you know, like looking back, I used all their unique things from their launches and stuff. That's not going to be available in any other, you know, the things that are made with like circular stones or pears, like navettes, those simple shapes. Yes. But I did a lot with all those like extra shapes they were encouraging us to use. And now I feel like a sucker for doing that because I'm not going to even sell those patterns.
I haven't understood why they're stopping selling them to like bead stores and beaders like you know. That doesn't make sense. They're just not going to make that size at all and just not sell them ever again.
I think they're trying to discontinue a lot of stuff, but they are making a ton of their beads and crystals still, but for the fashion market and for the finished product market, just not for our community. They're like, no soup for you, basically, which I think is just so silly. If they're making them, why can't we buy them?
What about all the check shapes and everything? Because you've used them well in the Touhou challenge. And do you like the multiple hole beads to put in there?
I do. I was a little overwhelmed with all the different 2-hole beads and stuff at first, but I do like, there are some of the shapes I like in particular, like the ones that look like little leaves, like super duos I've used a lot. I really like those. I like the 2-hole cabochons because they're like a larger bead you can put down really quick, and the colors are just really beautiful. Like some of those metallic suede finishes, like the more matte finishes are so beautiful. So yeah, I am using check beads, you know, a lot in my projects as well. And yeah, I really like them. I just can't buy too many shapes at once because I'll get overwhelmed. There are so many different beautiful shapes.
There are, that's for sure.
When you're making a mask, about how heavy is just on this side of too heavy to be able to then wear it once in a while?
Oh, I don't know. I feel like that's such a subjective thing, Karen, because like
it might be, yeah.
We all can tolerate different levels of like jewelry wearing and, you know, clothing weight and stuff like that. So I really don't know if I can answer that question.
How heavy is your heaviest mask?
Well, I think it might be a tie between the one that Rochelle has and this one. And I'm honestly not even sure. It feels like maybe 5 pounds, if that.
Oh,
it's got to be at least a few pounds. This guy, because it's a lot of crystal, and this is one of those really thick mask bases, and there's a lot of freshwater pearls on here, which are pretty heavy when you put them all together.
Cool.
So yeah, it's a few pounds. I don't think it'd be comfortable to wear for a long period of time, but maybe for an hour or two.
So do you just use Fireline and all the fringes? I mean, you have so many crystals and those fringes that hang. How do you keep the fringes from breaking?
Yeah, it's Fireline.
Okay.
Yep, for sure.
And what poundage?
I used I think it was 6 pound, but it's multiple passes. It's at least 2 passes, if not, 3. It's hard to see in there, but it's at least 2 passes through each strand of crystals.
So
they are so
Carol just made a comment on the chat. There's a color cross reference from Preciosa to Swarovski. And so she's going to send that to UMBS. So thank you, Carol. Yes. I think that's something we could, put on the website or Facebook, and if Facebook is going to work anymore now too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's a good reference to have.
Yeah, for sure.
So we'll have to, get our sparkles from inward and outward and all over the place. I'm so excited for, a new inspiring, way to do. I didn't realize all these had 9 petals. So I've been sitting here counting the flower. I'm like, oh my God, they do. Every single one of these flowers.
It's done 6. I mean, that would have been 3 fewer petals per flower.
I know. And zinnias, there's so many types of zinnias, and I'm not sure whatever else these are. I mean, they look like, something similar to that, but mums but oh my gosh. Everybody's loved having this at Bobby Bead, and so they're sad to see it go. So hopefully maybe you'll have time to do another Touhou challenge at some point in your future.
Yeah, I would love to.
So every year is a new palette. So
yeah, I would absolutely love to. I've loved doing it. I think I've done it twice now and I loved it both times.
Super. And so your life has settled down a little bit where you might have a tiny bit of free time, or
yeah, I can squeeze it in, because it's so enjoyable. It's, it's like, it's part of my job, but it's like one of my favorite parts to do the exploration and try new things, and work on like a large piece. It's just a lot of, it's really enjoyable for me. So yeah, I'd love to.
That's so cool. We've really enjoyed having you. Oh my gosh. And so we hope you will join us. Part of one of the perks of speaking at our Monday night meetings is you do also get a year membership to our Bead Society. And so we welcome you as a new member and hope that you'll join us, and you can sit back and watch and listen, you don't have to
absolutely. Next time I might mute it though and have Adelia down here because she was not happy about this happening.
Absolutely can. Family members are welcome too. We want to encourage the beaders to start as young as possible.
Awesome. Yeah, she does love the beads. I'm happy so far. She's into it. So. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Melissa. Thank you so much.
Oh, someone says, Hannah says this year's upcoming palette is so pretty. Have you sent them all out?
No, we actually haven't. Sonia and I are about to look at all the pictures of everyone who has sent us pictures over the summer, and we'll choose our designers here in the next couple weeks, and then the palette of beads will be sent out around Thanksgiving. It's called Dawn of a New Day.
Ooh. Well,
and so, and some of the colors in the challenge kit are the new Miyabi color Touhou. So they're natural dyed Touhou Icos. So they're dyed with safflowers and indigo flowers.
Oh, that's so cool. I love that.
Wow. Sounds beautiful.
But is Bobby Beads only wholesale?
Bobby Beads is retail or wholesale. We have 2 different shopping cart websites, and one is just the little 14-gram seed beads, and then we have all the check beads and metal components and ultra suede and all kinds of things on our retail. And then we wholesale Touhou seed beads, and then we also have the Touhou 1G thread and the Touhou needles in wholesale too. So that's on the wholesale website.
What is the retail website?
Well, everything is bobbybead.com.
Okay.
And then from there, you can click on whichever website. On the .com page has the links to our Bobby Bead YouTube channel, which we have 14 videos we made last year. And we also have bead information, anything you ever wanted to know about Touhou beads. So finishes, grams per weight, bead sizes, all that kind of stuff is on our .com. bobbybead.com, and then you click either retail or wholesale to go shopping.
I used to help a local bead store in Florida ordering beads, and we were getting from everywhere. I was like, but that's only wholesale at that time. But she would allow me to buy them and get a discount through her to keep me working for her for free.
There you go.
Veda, it's a great website. It's really good, Veda. So check it out.
Well, I have been on the wholesale side for that store. I've been on the wholesale side, but
there's all kinds of different things on the
You
retail side.
wholesale demis and Icos too, don't you?
Yep, all different kinds of the Touhou beads. I think there's 12 different sizes and shapes and styles
Right.
of Touhou beads, and then the threads and needles.
Cool.
But if you need all the other parts, the little your tools and all that kind of stuff, you go to the retail website. So we are having our fall harvest sale going on right now. So all Touhou wholesale is 25% off, and every retail Touhou is 40% off, and then the whole rest of the retail website is 25% off. So all week long, and so check it all out. And so that's our Bobby bead plug for the day, but we really thank you for supporting us, and thanks Melissa for short notice. And
Yes, definitely. And I just want to end with one comment. I read all of the chats for voting for the board members. So thanks everybody for voting. And there were 4 comments that members would like to continue to see some sort of newsletter. So I'll pass that along to Jan, and we'll work on that. We'll come up with some kind of a maybe hybrid between the two. So you thank you for the feedback, and you've been heard, and we'll pay attention.
And Beading the Basics Live is October 16th. We'll be sending Zoom links to all members, and then you can also join live on Facebook, on UMBS Facebook, and the Bobby Bead Facebook page. And we'll be having Jan Carlson doing Russian leaves, and then we have Becky Pancake doing variations of chenille stitch, and then I'll be doing interchange 2.0. So it's right angle weave with 2 and 4 hole beads, but this is a way to learn how to do 3-dimensional work with it and doing graduation work, because of course the new mini gem duos are here. So you can go mini gem duo and then regular gem duo and then cabochon or whatever. Anyway, join us October 16th, 1 to 4, and we'll bead it live. In person.
And all that
sounds
info
great.
is on the website now too. So
Yep,
if you want all the
UMBS.com.
details, and that's all on the website on the homepage.
So, and thank you very much. Everyone have a wonderful night. We'll see you all next time.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye, Melissa. Bye, everybody.